Hi, I'm Selima Harleston Lust from iwillaremedy, where we teach you how to turn your health issues into non-issues. And most issues start on the inside, in our mental and emotional spaces, before they ever turn into a physical condition or disease. So that's why we're talking today about triggers. What is a trigger? In my view, a trigger is a heightened emotional response. We're not labeling or judging the trigger, but in most cases, our heightened emotional response to the present situation is just not congruent with the circumstances. Our reaction doesn't make sense given what's happening in the present moment. If you remember the board game Operation, then you can think of triggers as that buzz that's happening when in the Operation game when the metal tweezers touch the rim. Bzzz. Triggers are when we feel that emotional buzzing inside. A tender spot has been hit within us, and it can be minor and quick, or it can be extreme and prolonged. So why do triggers happen? In many cases, a trigger is an unconscious, almost automatic reaction to a present-day situation because it reminds us of something that's happening or has happened to us in the past. Maybe it was something traumatic, maybe it was an unmet need or past pain. Triggers have a remarkable way of almost teleporting us back into the past. And even though we are physically standing right here, right now, the circumstances bring our minds and our consciousness to that past experience, and we respond today as if it were happening all over again. What does a trigger feel like? Shut down, panic, like the walls are closing in, trapped, terror, unsafe, angry, ashamed, fearful. A trigger can feel like anything to you. And every trigger feels differently because it depends on the memory that's being reignited or that tender spot that's being poked. So here's what you can do when you're triggered. Number one, breathe. Turn your attention to your breath. While your mind processes information nonstop, when you're focusing, you can only focus on one thing at a time. And when you focus on your breath, your inhales, your exhales, you're telling your mind to be here, to be now, to be in the now. You can't be here and in the past at the same time. So practice with me. As you inhale, say to yourself, I am the balanced breath in. As you exhale, say to yourself, I am the balanced breath out. Do this 10 times. Deep, focused breathing has a twofold benefit. It gets you back into a parasympathetic state of calm and relaxation, and it brings your attention to the present moment, which in most cases is safe. Number two, affirm. I'm a big believer in self-talk. The most important relationship you have is the one you have with yourself. The conversations you have between you and you are paramount. What you think about, you bring about. And in many cases, a trigger is highlighting a pain point, maybe an insecurity, a wound, and accompanying the trigger are all of those old records that used to play about maybe you being weak, not good enough, dumb, helpless, a bad person. The trigger brings you back to the past, and you can start identifying with that wounded part of yourself again. Or you can affirm what you know to be true about yourself now. You can affirm, proclaim, and celebrate yourself, your life, your circumstances now instead of playing those old records. Practice with me. Say aloud, I am joyful. I am whole. I am courageous. I am abundant. I am loved. I am safe. I am funny. I am smart. I am healthy. I am resourceful. Solutions abound. I'm supported. I feel good in my body right now. I can always find something to smile about. They don't have to be complicated or that deep. And all you're doing with this exercise is speaking life into yourself, speaking to yourself in a kinder way and changing the record. Just like you would skip to the next song on Spotify if you didn't like it, you're skipping the poor me records that the trigger brought up. And in doing so, you start to feel incrementally better. Try it, affirm yourself, think of things to be grateful for 60 seconds straight, and I know you'll feel better. And then number three, speak, talk. Use your voice to talk about what is happening with you right now. Up to this point, you've reconnected with your breath, you've taken over the record player in your head. This can take seconds or minutes, or maybe you need to step away, and that's okay. Now, for some people, when they are triggered, they talk more. They throw blame or they yell as a defense mechanism. For others, like myself, shut down, go silent. Wherever you are on the spectrum, your instruction to speak at this step is about being deliberate with your words as a means of processing and deactivating the trigger and healing the wounds. If you snapped at your partner or a child because you were triggered, you owe them an apology. Go the extra step and share what was coming up for you that was triggering. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and share, because this is how compassion, understanding, and acceptance grows between people. You are the only person who lives inside of your experiences. And when we communicate to others, what happened and where we got teleported to in our memories, it gives them a chance to be more mindful of your tender spots. And speaking for us about what happened to the people we're interacting with or to others, it gives us the chance to process and start to release what we've been carrying. We may not even be fully aware of what the triggering circumstance reminds us of, but that visceral reaction gives us valuable information that there's something that you need to work on. Triggers aren't bad. They're information and they're instructional. Triggers are a gift because they can reactivate something within you that needs your attention. So don't dismiss your triggers or think of them as a nuisance or not important, because they have the power to illuminate a path for you. When you return to your center from a trigger, take that time to think about the situation, reflect on what happened, where did it bring you, what it is that you need to work on. The answer is really always right there. Meditation helps us listen in for it. Triggers can point you to, one, your pain. You're hurting because it's a wound within yourself that is begging for healing. If you've been working on an issue in your life for a while and it still feels like you're being triggered, that just means it still stings. You still hurt, that's okay. Triggers can also point to your distractions. Maybe you got all riled up about somebody else's business, not your own. And a trigger can be a signal for you to get back into your emotional lane. Think your own thoughts and feel your own feelings. And number 3, a trigger can also point you to your purpose. You're passionate about something because it's a problem that you deeply desire to find a solution for and contribute in the best of ways towards improving it. The injustices that you see out in the world, maybe you feel so strongly about it because it's your public work. Everything in your life is an invitation, especially triggers. And when life is inviting you to heal, it's going to tap dance on those triggers all the time. You'll miss your medicine when you ignore the invitation of your triggers. You can do this. So in the comments below, let me know how you overcome your triggers. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to like and subscribe. See you next time.
Everybody goes through this. And just to give you a little history, this took us probably about 8 to 9 years to pull together. And it was basically, this is the way my mind works. And we wanted to be able to put it in an easy to understand format for other people to incorporate it into their lives. And so when you start with check your triggers, it's basically check what is coming up for you. So the example I generally use is, let's say your father talks a certain way to your mother and it aggravates you, it triggers you. But now in your relationship, you see you're doing the same thing, right? So that would be the trigger.
Okay.
Then asking the question. So the trigger is, you're talking to your spouse in a way that you don't like. Then you would ask the question, why am I doing this? Then you would listen for the answers, and the answer would be, you know what? I saw my father talk to my mother the same way, and I don't like what that, being on the outside looking in, I don't like that. And so for my own relationship, now we're at yearn for the root. For my own relationship, I don't want to show up in that way, right?
Yeah.
So now we're at yearn at the root. And so pain or purpose, this is, for the most part, from C to Y, almost everybody gets there on their own. Almost, whether they realize they're doing it or not, everybody gets there on their own. The pain or purpose, that's the shining star. This is where almost everybody is stuck at some point in their life. And so pain or purpose is, are you familiar with a roundabout when you're driving?
Yeah.
Driving. Pain is you just keep riding around in a circle, right? You just keep doing the same thing over and over. Sometimes you expect a different result, sometimes you don't. And purpose would be taking an exit, saying, you know what, I'm going to take this exit. I don't know what's down here, but anything has to be better than just going around in this circle. And so most of the time when people choose purpose, it is because they are so sick and tired of themselves. And the goal we have is to, and for our own personal goals also, is to not be sick and tired of ourselves, to make the choice to take the exit, right? After you've kind of gone through this method, but with awareness, that you're aware of what you're doing, you're aware that you don't like it, and you keep doing it, you can't do it with the same level of naivete, right? Okay. It's just not possible. Like, and then not riding the bike, like not being able to do it. Like you just can't do it. It doesn't work that way, right? And so then you step into solutions. Now, stepping in solutions, and this is on these calls, this is where almost every call I've ever done, we always get to the step into solutions. The pain or purpose is a decision only you can make, right? I can be here to support you on whatever journey you choose, but you have to decide if you're going to go around the loop or if you're going to take the exit. No one can do that but you. And then the step in solutions is I give actionable steps for you to achieve what you said you wanted to achieve, right? And then outshining your former self is you have moved further away from the person that you said you don't want to be and closer to the person you said you wanted to be.
Okay. If you've been experiencing setbacks on your healing journey, then this lesson is for you. You're probably taking the right herbs, doing the spiritual practices, handling your trauma, but if you hold any of the negative beliefs I'm going to mention, then I guarantee it's your stinking thinking that's holding you back. Be sure to stick around until the end. I have a special invitation for you. In my 10 years experience as an herbal practitioner and teacher, I found that people who experience the least improvement are the ones who hold the most disbelief. They can take the herbs, change their diets, start a movement routine, yet experience minimal shifts because they did not change the most important thing, their minds. Mindset is everything. It's truly at the crux of every healing process, every single transformation, every personal or professional endeavor. Yet most people don't take the time to think about what they think about. And even less, they don't interrogate their beliefs. Why do you think a certain way? Where did it come from? Is it serving you? Are the thoughts you think and the convictions you hold supportive of the life you want to live and have? If you want something, you may not initially believe that you can have it, and that's okay. Recognize this. But if it's something you truly want, then you have to at least shift your thinking into possibility. You can't leap from disbelief to belief, but you can move from disbelief to possible. And you have to practice reinforcing that possibility and acting on it. The more you take action, small steps towards obtaining your goal, the more you close the gap. Believe in the possibility, take a small step, close the gap a little. Believe in the possibility, take a small step, close the gap a little more. The more consistent you are with this process, the more you start to see what you want coming into view. And as it comes into view, then you're closer to believing you can actually have or experience it in your life. On the other hand, if you want something, but you always think in opposition to it, I guarantee you it'll never happen. Instead of focusing on where you want to go, you stay fixated on where you've been and think that this is as good as it gets for you. Illness and wellness exist at opposite ends of a spectrum, just like wealth and poverty, connection and loneliness, past and future. You can walk toward one end or the other. You can keep yourself where you are in dissatisfaction, pain, and suffering, or you can move toward what you want, holding the possibility that you can have it. Here are some of the common beliefs I've heard over the years that hinder healing and ways to reframe it. My body is broken. Okay, the body expresses what's within. Pains on the physical body are an extension of the conversation that's happening internally in the mental and emotional spaces. Your body isn't punishing you. It's inviting you to be more aware. Everyone's body reaches for its form of well-being. You are not exempt from this universal truth. You have to learn how to get your mind and emotions aligned with well-being, then your body will express it. I've got bad genes. No, you don't. Gene expression can change. We don't express everything that we inherit, thank goodness, right? And when something is expressed, we also, through our behavior and habits, have the ability to turn it off. For things that are congenital, which I don't consider under the umbrella of illness, you are in your perfect body in this lifetime. It's too expensive to be healthy. Same budget, different choices. We have a client who bought a house instead of a hip replacement because she chose holistic over surgery. I don't have time to focus on my health. Pain, illness, disease, they rob your time, drain your energy, dominate your brain space. Health is one of the 4 major areas of life, along with relationships, fulfillment, and money, that people worry about the most. It doesn't feel good to feel bad, and one way or another, you'll be forced to focus on your health. You can be proactive about it or be forced into it like most people are. Myself included, I was experiencing multiple chronic health issues and they went away when I started focusing on it. So this I can tell you, you will reclaim so much of your energy, your time, your focus, your vitality when you prioritize your health and start feeling better. I won't be consistent. You are already consistent, just likely with harmful instead of helpful habits. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you scrolled today? It takes the same amount of energy to pour water as it does soda. It's the same energy. You have to learn how to manage it differently. There's no cure. A diagnosis is not a lifetime prison sentence. It doesn't have to be something you experience forever. No cure doesn't mean there will never be one or that it's impossible to find relief or heal from it. You don't have to believe that there's a cure, but you can stop thinking that there's not. You actually don't have to think about it at all. And denial. An example, I'm healthy. I just have to figure out this high blood pressure or get these gout flare-ups under control. Please stop ignoring your body's signs and invitations to heal. Avoidance does not make these issues go away. I can do it all by myself. Healing takes a village. Receive help from professionals, family, teachers, ancestors, guides, everybody. Everyone needs people around them who are more resourced and educated. Stop feeling like you should know things you don't know and enjoy the process of learning and feeling better along the way. My medication manages it. Depends. Some truly are life-saving for people, but more importantly though, medications are not a free pass for you to keep knowingly doing unhealthy behaviors. It will always be your responsibility to learn how to care for yourself. If you find yourself saying aloud or thinking these thoughts, I hope you start thinking about what you think about and ask, does this belief, does this thought help or hinder my healing? Stop reinforcing thoughts that keep distance between you and whatever it is that you want. Thoughts are things, and you speak life into your existence every time you open your mouth. Some of these thoughts, you can just stop thinking, like a light switch. Turn it off in your brain. You are the thinker. Let me know in the comments one thought you're willing to drop today. And before you go, mark your calendar for Tuesday. I'm holding a live masterclass on how I got out of chronic pain, healed trauma, ditched dependence on drugs with herbal medicine and the CALYPSO healing method. It's going to be live. I'm going to bring the energy. It's going to be lit and it's free. More details are in the caption. Hope to see you there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. See you next time. Most people think that losing weight is all about cutting foods, counting calories, and spending hours in the gym. Do these things, and yes, you might drop weight temporarily, but without the right mindset and intention, you'll likely gain it all back. So in this video, we're going to take you behind the curtain of Tammy's 2 distinct journeys, her weight loss journey and her weight release journey. There's a big difference between the two, so keep watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every time we post a new video about herbalism, healing, and alignment. So Tami, in our language, there's a difference between weight release and weight loss. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, there's a big difference. I don't say that I've lost weight or I'm losing weight because I didn't lose anything. I'm not looking for it. I didn't misplace my keys. I have released weight. And it's a release because it was conscious. I was conscious about saying, I no longer want this weight on, and I'm going to make these step-by-step process to release it.
And so why would you call that phase, this phase was your weight loss?
Yes.
Not weight release. We're not there yet.
We haven't hit weight release. Everything that I've talked about thus far was about weight loss because I wasn't present. And I didn't want to be present. I wanted the weight to come off, and I wanted the ownership to be on someone else's shoulders, which for me, each time was always on whoever my personal trainer was at the time. I remember my last personal trainer, she was like, we have to weigh you. And I was like, absolutely not. She's like, how are you gonna know what's happening? And I said, I don't care. I don't care because I didn't want to know, and I wanted no ownership in the process. I wanted the weight to go from where it was to where I wanted it to be, and I wanted daisies and fairy dust and little birdies, tweeting over me, and then everything in my mind, everything would have been right in my world.
So now here we are. Okay, so it's 2019. You're at a size 16. Not happy. You end up having this conversation with a neighbor. And
it wasn't even directed towards me, but I knew the message was for me. If you haven't lost any weight, it's because of what you're eating. And I remember it really stuck out with me because I didn't want to hear any of that. I didn't want to make any of those changes because I knew it was a bigger issue than just what I was eating. It was more of like every time you put that food in your mouth, what are you really eating? Because it's not the food anymore. And those were questions that I did not want to ask. And those were answers that I did not want to hear.
Yeah. But it was, so in 2019, you and our neighbor, you were walking consistently, but there weren't any changes physically.
I didn't make any changes to my diet.
Yeah.
And most importantly, I didn't make any changes to my mindset.
Right. So in 2020, you ended up setting an intention that set you up for your transformation.
Yes, I did. Unknowingly. Yeah. So in 2020, I got LASIK. Talking to my mother, and I said, this is going to be the year that I see.
Well, tell people what LASIK is, just in case they don't know.
Oh, so LASIK is the eye surgery to take you from needing glasses or contacts to not. That is a huge shift in the way someone sees the world.
It's not just about like you seeing the world. This is about also you seeing yourself and seeing things about yourself that you can no longer deny.
Yes.
But you had a breakthrough.
This one particular day, it's 6 a.m. We're at the top of the hill, and this vision hit me like it was clear as day that I said, this is my loop. And
you were like yelling in the middle of the street.
That's why I said it was 6 a.m. because I was hyped. I was like, this is my loop. This is my loop. This is what I keep doing over and over and expecting a different result. And she asked me, she was like, okay. She's like, so.
Well, what's the loop?
Oh, so the loop is what we refer to. The loop is within our CALYPSO healing method. And the loop is essentially you just keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Whereas you keep doing it, you recognize you're doing it, and then you take an exit. Right. And you make a different choice to outshine your former self.
And like in the admission that you want, that the weight mattered, that the number mattered, there's also that admission of like, there are behaviors within me that are not in alignment with this.
Right, and I didn't want to admit that because this meant change. Right. And I don't like change. I fight it tooth and nail, right? But I would have to change, but more importantly, I would have to be honest with myself. Right. And for years, I didn't want to be honest with myself. I mean, 220, I used to just want to get to 200 pounds. I just wanted to, for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to get under 200 pounds. That was it. But I wasn't willing, and I can clearly remember those moments. I wasn't willing to do what was necessary, which is gradual changes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I always did was these really big, sweeping changes. So I would think if I went out and I biked 10 miles, then I should drop 10 pounds, and that was it. If that works for somebody, that is fantastic. That does not and has not worked for me. Right. So I had to adopt a process that was in alignment with the way I operate in the world, which is slow and which is gradual and which allows me the time to process all the many thoughts and feelings that come up along the way.
That's the beauty of a slow process, is that there's built in, if we accept the invitation of it, there's built in time for reflection and introspection, and for us to really see, like, are the actions I'm taking in support of where I say I want to go? But when you go lightning speed, when you go fast, you don't pay attention to those little details, and there's no time for that, like that internal shifting and changing. Right. Because you just want to go, 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 go. Get it done, get it fast, Right. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable.
So I talked about the relationship with food, and for a period I weighed my food and I tracked my food. I also weighed myself every single day. Even to this day, I still weigh myself every single day. I've never missed a day. I'll even travel with the scale so that
run to the store, get batteries.
I have. And at the time of recording this video, I still have not hit that original goal. I am 1 pound from that original goal, but my mindset is completely different. I mean, I went through a period in which I was on a plateau for 6 months.
Hovering around 178.
Yeah, I hovered at 178 for 6 months.
Right. Most people will quit.
That plateau wasn't as painful as it may sound, because my relationships were completely different at that point. And that was with not even hitting my goal, right? My relationship with Niles, infinitely better, right? My relationship with myself, I continued to keep gradually pushing myself to an outer limit of finding and adjusting. Like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. So, I knew I wasn't going to weigh my food forever. Right. So I was like, I have to try, I have to see, but I have to trust myself in order to do that. Right. My relationship with Selima, because my self-confidence went up, grew stronger. What is at the forefront is longevity, sustainability, and balance.
Yeah.